A warm welcome to all our viewers. I'm your host Pratiksha Mishra and you're watching another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. At the World Economic Forum in Davos, India remained at the center of global discussions. US President Donald Trump expressed confidence in a strong India US bilateral trade agreement, describing Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a close friend and respected leader. The summit also highlighted India's approach to artificial intelligence, emphasizing large scale deployment, economic viability, and governance frameworks. India's role in driving a clean and inclusive energy transition was underscored with 9 states, including first time participants Assam and Jharkhand, actively represented. Take a look.
At the World Economic Forum in Davos, India's reform momentum has emerged as a key point of global discussion, positioning the country as one of the fastest growing and most resilient major economies. Global leaders and investors at the forum highlighted the impact of landmark structural reforms driven by Indian government, which have strengthened India's economic fundamentals and enhanced its credibility as a long-term investment destination. Reforms such as the implementation of labor codes, simplification of the goods and services tax, transformation of the energy sector, and the opening up of the nuclear energy space to private participation have collectively improved ease of doing business and boosted investor confidence across sectors. Reflecting this growing optimism at Davos, US President Donald Trump expressed confidence in the proposed India-US bilateral trade agreement, stating that the two countries are going to have a good deal. Trump also praised Prime Minister Modi as a close friend and a respected global leader. Amid this renewed momentum, experts at Davos underlined that the India-US partnership goes well beyond trade negotiations, encompassing technology, investment, and people-to-people ties.
It's a complex environment, and I think both countries are talking to find a way to take the trade discussion forward. But I have to remind that the relationship between India and the US is not just about trade. It's much more broader. It's on people to people, it's on technology, it's on business investment between two countries. So obviously trade is one aspect, but I think if we can sort that out, it's going to get much more smoother.
Amid strong global interest, India is widely projected to become the world's third largest economy in the coming years, driven by sustained growth and structural reforms. At the World Economic Forum, India's vision for artificial intelligence was outlined, focusing on large-scale adoption, economic viability, and the development of robust techno-legal governance frameworks to ensure responsible, inclusive, and trusted innovation.
भारत को आज सारी दुनिया में एक ट्रस्टेड वैल्यू चेन पार्टनर की तरह देखा जा रहा है। इस टर्ब्यूलेंट बहुत मुश्किल एनवायरनमेंट में सारे विश्व में जहां पर अनसर्टेनिटी है, वैसे में भारत को एक बहुत ही स्टेबल, अच्छी डेमोक्रेसी, वाइब्रेंट डेमोक्रेसी और एक सस्टेन्ड वे में ग्रोथ वाली इकोनॉमी के तरीके से देखा जा रहा है। जिस तरीके से यहाँ पर इन्वेस्टर्स से मुलाकातें हुई, बातें हुई, हर पैनल में, हर एक जगह बहुत क्लियरली लोग बोल रहे हैं कि भारत आज एक ब्राइट स्पॉट है पूरी दुनिया में। जहां पर टर्बुलेंस है, वहां पे भारत एक बहुत स्टेबल और ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी है और भारत को ट्रस्ट की तरह से देखा जा रहा है।
Industry leaders and global investors at Davos noted that India is increasingly being viewed as an attractive destination across both traditional industries and emerging sectors. From manufacturing and infrastructure to renewable energy, electrical vehicles and digital technologies, experts pointed out to expanding opportunities and a favorable policy environment that continues to drive investor interest.
India's story is intact. People's interest, corporate interest in India is very much alive. In fact, India remains the bright spot. 7% growth. Newer areas are opening up. So I think that are the two things that I would take in account has happened. I think both. The interest in manufacturing, the increase in the manufacturing side, as is quite clearly is being seen that the manufacturing companies want to establish base in India. So that's one part. Of course, the new age businesses, the renewables, the EVs. So there is the infrastructure investments. So there is a huge interest in that sense.
At the World Economic Forum, India's pivotal role in advancing a clean, inclusive energy transition was highlighted, with 9 states actively represented, including first-time participants Assam and Jharkhand. Amid ongoing global economic uncertainty, India's steady growth trajectory, policy consistency, and reform-oriented governance are drawing significant attention at Davos. Backed by strong economic fundamentals, expanding investment opportunities, and rising global confidence, India's presence at the forum reinforces its position as a key engine of global growth and a preferred destination for long-term investment in the years ahead.
Moving on. Amid shifting global alliances and rising geopolitical uncertainty, India is consolidating its role as a steady diplomatic actor. By deepening engagement with partners across regions, New Delhi is advancing in strategic, economic, and security interests while promoting stability and cooperation. This approach is evident in India's strengthened ties with the United Arab Emirates, Japan, and Poland, reflecting a multi-directional foreign policy spanning West Asia, the Indo-Pacific, and Europe. Take a look.
India's foreign policy momentum continues to gather pace as New Delhi deepens engagement across regions to protect national interests while contributing to global stability. From energy security in West Asia to strategic cooperation in the Indo-Pacific and expanding partnerships in Europe, India's diplomacy reflects balance and strategic clarity. The approach was on display as Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcomed UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan to New Delhi, where a warm exchange highlighted the close personal and political ties between the two leaders. The visit, set against shifting dynamics and multiple flashpoints in West Asia, underscored the strategic weights of the talks, with both sides reviewing progress in their economic partnership.
Following the signing of the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement between the two countries in 2022, the bilateral trade has since crossed $100 billion. And in view of this, the two leaders decided to raise ambitions and look to double bilateral trade to $200 billion by 2032.
The UAE has long been one of India's key energy partners, a relationship reinforced during the visit with a long-term agreement for the annual supply of 0.5 million metric tons of liquefied natural gas. The deal positions the UAE as India's second largest LNG supplier, strengthening New Delhi's energy security and economic resilience. India's diplomatic outreach also reached the Indo-Pacific with the visit of Japan's Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi, highlighting the growing strategic convergence between the two countries amid shifting regional dynamics. Together, these engagements signal India's intent to deepen alliances and build resilient economic and security frameworks in an increasingly contested regional landscape.
The relationship today sees that our initiative of what we call Mahasagar, which is oceans in a way, and vision for the Indo-Pacific aligns closely with your free and open Indo-Pacific outlook.
今後10年の日印共同ビジョンに基づいて J とともにですね、安全保障、経済、投資、イノベーション、そして人的交流分野で着実に成果を出していきたいと思います。
India and the European Union are edging closer to a landmark free trade agreement aimed at boosting market access, expanding exports, and deepening strategic economic ties amid shifting global trade dynamics. Reflecting this momentum, Poland's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski met External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in New Delhi to strengthen diplomatic and trade engagement.
We hope that the negotiations between India and the European Union on a free trade agreement are concluded successfully to the satisfaction of both India and the European Union, and that the trade flourishes further. We of course discussed pressing problems of our neighborhood, this neighborhood, global affairs, and you can guess what those subjects were. I want to assure you that Poland and India are countries that are interested in upholding the principles of international law.
Together, these high-level engagements underscore the depth and diversity of India's diplomacy. By strengthening partnerships across regions and sectors, India is emerging as a trusted partner, a bridge builder, and a stabilizing force in an increasingly uncertain world.
Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammad Shia al-Sudani visited the Ain al-Assad air base in Anbar after the full withdrawal of US forces and the handover of the base to Iraqi forces. In 2024, Washington and Baghdad reached an understanding on plans for the withdrawal of US-led coalition forces from Iraq and a move towards a bilateral security relationship. In Tehran, Iraq's capital, damaged buildings and charred buses were visible. Rows of burned-out buses stood parked in a city square, while signs of fire damage could be seen at a mosque. According to authorities and social media reports, Iran's streets have remained largely calm for the past week after anti-government protests that erupted in late December were suppressed within 3 days through widespread violence. A devastating fire swept through a shopping mall in Karachi, Pakistan's largest city, over the weekend, claiming the lives of at least 60 people. The blaze at Gul Shopping Plaza was the deadliest fire in the city has witnessed in more than a decade. Flames rapidly engulfed the 3-story commercial complex, which housed more than 1,200 shops, trapping occupants inside and causing extensive destruction.
Campaigning is now set to be launched across Nepal as the nomination process for the House of Representatives elections comes to a close. Candidates from major parties and independents are reaching out to voters, promising reform and stability after months of political upheaval. These early elections were triggered by the 2025 Gen Z uprising, which led to the fall of the Oli government and reshaped the country's political landscape. Take a look.
The Himalayan nation, Nepal, is once again bracing for a decisive political moment. Candidature filing for Nepal's upcoming House of Representatives election has closed in the aftermath of the Gen Z uprising, with candidates now preparing to begin their campaigns. Hundreds of contenders from major political parties as well as independent candidates rallied across the country to file their nominations. Political parties have rolled out their agendas as they seek to mobilize public support ahead of the crucial polls.
अलिकति परिवर्तनको बाटोतिर हिँडेको छ। विधि विधान अन्तर्गत हामीले पार्टी चलाउनका निम्ति राम्रैसँग जोडबल गरेको स्थिति छ। त्यसैले हाम्रो आदरणीय नेतृत्वका प्रति पनि हामीले आग्रह गर्यौं, चाहिँ असन्तुष्टि व्यक्त गरेर प्रक्रियामा गयौं, त्यसले एउटा परिणाम ल्याएको स्थिति छ।
With the polling date drawing closer, all political parties have fielded their candidates across the 165 constituencies under the first past the post electoral system. Last month, political parties also submitted a list of 110 candidates to be elected through the proportional representation system.
बहुदलीय प्रणालीमा नयाँ नयाँ राजनीतिक दलहरू आउनु, नयाँ मान्यता लिएर आउने कुरा स्वागत योग्य कुरा हो। म जुनसुकै पुस्ताका साथीहरू पनि राजनीतिमा प्रतिस्पर्धाको लागि आउने कुरालाई स्वागत गर्छु र उहाँहरूले प्रतिस्पर्धामा श्रेष्ठता स्थापित गर्नुहोस्, म शुभकामना पनि भन्न चाहन्छु। तर के हुन्छ भने यो उमेरको आधारमा मात्रै कुरो हुँदैन, किनभने राजनीतिक दलका विचारहरू गतिमा बाँचेका हुन्छन्, गतिशील हुन्छन् र जुन राजनीतिक दलले आफ्ना विचारहरूलाई गतिशील बनाउँछ त्यो कहिले पनि मर्दैन, कहिले पनि बुढो हुँदैन। हामी निरन्तर अपडेटेड भएर अगाडि बढिरहेका हुन्छौँ।
As Nepal prepares for early parliamentary elections, regional partner India has extended election-related assistance to support the polling process. Nepal's periodic election, originally due in 2027, has been called early after the Gen Z protests of 2025, following the dissolution of parliament. The September 8th and 9th revolt led to the fall of the then Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli. Over 70 people had reportedly died in the crackdown by security forces. The two-day protest, commonly referred to as the Gen Z uprising, was sparked by anger over corruption and a social media ban, and has now reshaped the course of Nepali politics.
Afghanistan's humanitarian emergency is worsening as years of conflict, economic collapse, prolonged drought, and mass deportations from neighboring countries converge with sharp cuts in international aid. Humanitarian agencies warn that millions of Afghans are facing crisis-level hunger, with women and children most affected, and the situation is expected to worsen further in the coming months.
Across Afghanistan, winter has brought freezing temperatures and shrinking livelihoods to a population already struggling to survive. Daily wage work has dried up, food stocks are running low, and humanitarian assistance is failing to keep pace with growing needs. An estimated 45% of Afghanistan's population, around 21.9 million people, will require humanitarian assistance in the coming year, according to the Afghanistan Humanitarian Needs and Response Plan. More than 17.5 million people have been prioritized for emergency support, with over one-third of the population projected to face crisis-level or worse food insecurity during the 2025-2026 lean season as defined by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification. This marks a sharp deterioration from last year, forcing families to survive by depleting essential livelihood assets. The crisis has been compounded by one of the world's fastest growing returnee emergencies. Around 5 million people have returned to Afghanistan this year, including more than 2.6 million deported from Iran and Pakistan following tightened migration policies and deteriorating protection conditions. Many returnees have been pushed back into districts already facing poverty, drought, food shortages, and limited access to basic services, further overwhelming local capacities, particularly around Kabul.
پس مجبوری از بدبختی فهمید اینجا زندگی میکنیم. اگر از واسه ما چیزی پورا باشه خب میکنیم. ما فهمیدیم دل ما هر چی میخواه که بکنیم. حالا میجه باد میشه، باران میشه، فهمیدی چی میشه، خب مجبور هستیم بچه خود بغل خود میگیریم، زود باشان زندگی میکنیم. بچه گریان میکنن که بابا سرده، یخه، اینجوریه اونجوریه، خب مجبور هستیم میگیم باشیم چیکار بکنیم.
Food insecurity has also been worsened by ongoing drought. Nearly 80% of rain-fed wheat crops have failed in several regions, leaving families without food reserves for the winter months. At the same time, sanitation and hygiene conditions are deteriorating. Around 25% of households rely on unimproved water sources, while 37% lack access to soap, increasing the risk of disease outbreaks alongside hunger. Health facilities across the country are reporting a sharp rise in malnutrition cases, particularly among children. Clinics treating acute malnutrition say patient numbers have doubled due to the influx of returnees and the collapse of household incomes.
نسبت به سالهای قبل که مهاجرین اینجا نبودن، نصف از اون تعداد مریضای ما زیاد شده و در این منطقه که ما کلینیک داریم، مهاجرین پاکستان نسبت به ایران زیادتر هستند و اکثریتشان حتی خانه ندارن.
For families already affected by unemployment and economic collapse, treatment offers only temporary relief.
2 سال است که مهاجمیم به علت سوء تغذیه متوسط است. دیگه علت از اینکه بچه ما دچار سوء تغذیه شد، اولین مشکلش مشکلات اقتصادی، بیکاری، دیگه درست رسیدگی کردی نمیتونیم به غذای زیاد.
While needs are rising, humanitarian resources are shrinking. The World Food Programme warns it is not sufficiently funded to respond to the spiraling crisis. For 2026, humanitarian partners require $1.71 billion, a 29% reduction compared to 2025, even as they aim to reach more people through sharper prioritization and efficiency gains.
1/3 of the population are experiencing acute hunger, and that is 3 million more people than last year. So the situation is dramatically worse than last year. What we're finding is a confluence of factors. There's a drought in the north, Malnutrition is rising exponentially. We have the return of 2.5 million people this year to Afghanistan, the forced return. All these things are coming together to create a perfect storm for Afghanistan.
At aid distribution sites, supplies remain limited and queues long. For some families, assistance has come for the first time after months of hunger.
یعنی می دفعه اول که دنمی گوشه بیشه ها که گوشنه و تشنه خواهی کس از ما این صدای منو نمیشنوه دیگه. من موری یک دروازه که یک خدا برای از ما بید یک 4 طفل دختر داریم دیگه سرپرست نداریم زمین نداریم کارگر نداریم من افتیده ایدیم گوشه بیشه ها یعنی من دفعه که اولین باره که من کمک میگیرم خیلی خوشحالم دیگه.
Humanitarian agencies warn that without urgent international funding and sustained support, Afghanistan's hunger crisis will deepen further through winter. With drought, displacement, and aid cuts converging, millions of Afghans remain at risk of sliding deeper into hunger and malnutrition.
With aid shrinking, millions in Afghanistan face a winter where survival is uncertain. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.